Hi, welcome to the video. Generally, when we say about research and experiments, the people who are away from this, or people who are not having any kind of experiences with the research and or experiments, they used to feel like, is it for me? Is it what I can do? Is it something which I can really do, or is it for a common man? But actually, research is happening in our life every day, each and every time. We are sometimes keeping hypotheses, and then we are testing the hypothesis, and we are either rejecting a null hypothesis or accepting a null hypothesis. For instance, when we are cooking rice, what is happening? We will boil the rice in the water, and after a period of time, we will think that the rice has been cooked. So we are hypothesizing like the rice is cooked. Generally in our life, when we keep a hypothesis or when we frame a hypothesis, it used to be an alternative hypothesis. I will open the rice pot, I will take maybe a sample of rice. So sampling is happening there. Okay, there is a procedure. How I took the sample, there is a procedure. Opening the pot, taking a spoon or something, and then I am dipping it in the rice pot, taking a sample of rice from there. It's a kind of convenient sampling which we are taking. Okay, we are not randomly choosing, because all the rice has similar kind of characteristics. We can go for convenient sampling. Okay, if the rice are having a different kind of characteristics, each rice has different kind of characteristics, we may need a simple random sampling or some other kind of sampling. We may take one rice and squeeze it. We will say that rice is cooked, and the result is what? The whole rice is cooked. We are generalizing. Okay, not only rice, we may think about what can be the breakfast, or if we are cooking the breakfast, we can say that, we can imagine that, or we can hypothesize that today the breakfast will be delicious. And after cooking, we are tasting it and saying that we are rejecting the null hypothesis and saying like the breakfast is delicious, or accepting the null hypothesis and saying that today it is not that tasty as we had in one of the previous time. Likewise, in our real life experiences, we are doing a lot of hypothesizing and we are doing research. It's a continuous process. Our life is going in that way, and we are not realizing research is happening. So a common man is doing a lot of research, but there is a problem here. The research done by the common man is not scientific, because it is not documented, and a methodology has not been placed, and a new person need not be able to follow the same methodology to replicate our method which we have tried. We might be telling it, in the case of cooking, etc., we can tell it to the next person, you can try in the same way, and a semi methodology is there even though it is not well documented. Okay, but in many life experiences, our hypothesis, etc., and its method which we try to check whether the hypothesis is acceptable or rejectable or confirmable or disconfirmable, we actually are not documenting it properly, and we are not keeping it as a book or a dissertation. But many things which we see now or which we tell now, even though it is not well documented, has came as a research. For example, in my place where I am standing here, in this particular area, this is Bangalore. In Bangalore, July, August, September, October, these months, it used to be a little bit rainy. This is based on a kind of mental documentation that happened by the previous generations. They communicated it to the newer generation. This is a rainy season. This is a season when we have a lot of rain. Rest of the months we need water, no? So we have to save water during this time. Such kind of information we are carrying in our mind, even though it is not well documented, And this is based on certain research that has happened, even though it is unscientific. Unscientific researchers also have what? Values. And I can definitely say that December will be a period of what? A lot of cold situations here. Temperature will go down till 8 degrees Celsius or 9 degrees Celsius in Bangalore. These are the things which I can tell based on the observations which has been done by my previous generations. Okay, likewise, even though not documented, many researches are applicable and we are using it in different situations, sometimes during cultivating crops or in agriculture, sometimes while planning about a trip. We are actually using all these research outcomes or outputs. Looking in that way, research can be done by everybody. I've seen some of my students saying like, research is not the cup of my tea. It may be, I am more an active, that means an application person. Some others will do research, I will apply. No, it is not like that. Everybody in the world can do research. Okay, it is not for certain people. Maybe documentation is for some people, but anybody can be trained in documentation. Okay, and we need a little bit of patience, and we need this feeling that I can do this research. Okay, that feeling has to come from our mind, from internally. Only then we can go ahead with the research. And we should have this feeling of I have to inquire. Inquiry is already happening, but systematically inquire on certain aspects and then go ahead. And also there are so many exploratory studies also. I need not restrict research into hypothesis testing or hypothetical deductive methods. There are so many exploratory studies also. We are also exploring in our regular life, no? Through certain areas which we haven't traveled yet, we are actually exploring. During that time, we are seeing around, we are learning, we are making a kind of idea about that particular place. Actually, in all these areas, research and learning is happening, but we are not realizing, or nobody is calling it as research or learning. Faraday, Michael Faraday. I heard this story of Michael Faraday. I don't know how much this story is right. The story is like this. Faraday was actually a person who was working in a book binding shop, a press maybe. And this press used to print and bind the dissertations of one of the nearby universities. So during the time of the submission of that particular dissertation and the open defense of that dissertation, this particular scholar came and invited the book binding shopkeeper to come and attend the open defense. And the book binding shopkeeper doesn't have time, so he said Faraday, an assistant in that particular shop, to go and attend it. And Faraday went there, and the presentation was in a lab during that time. Faraday sat there. When Faraday sat and understood about the situations and circumstances in the lab, and when Faraday found so many chemicals inside, Faraday was fascinated by seeing the arrangements of everything, and he approached the professor and asked whether I can get a small job inside this particular lab. In that way, he was enrolled as a lab assistant in that particular lab, and he spent so many years there, and finally, with the help of certain scholars who regularly come to that lab, he wrote certain things. Okay, and he submitted that particular paper. He prepared a small paper, is what this story is saying, and he submitted it to a journal. And you know what happens? A layman submit a paper. Some of the reviewers will look into it and think that this is not a proper study, no? So wonderful journals actually rejected his. And finally, he modified the article based on the comments he received from very good reviewers, and finally he submitted it to a common journal which is not well rated, okay, but a peer-reviewed common journal he submitted. And you know what happened? This journal became highly indexed journal, because of this article of Faraday. That's a interesting aspect which we have to remember when we think about research. It's there in everybody. Even in common men, the idea of research is there. But the common men don't know that the idea of research is convertible to a document which helped the person live for 100 years. Now, Faraday has gone from this world long before, but still he is living. This is what research will provide us. When you read the history of Tesla, you will understand how much he was pathetically criticized and how horribly he was attacked by the researchers during that time. You know, research is not for fame, but research is to help the people around for the future. And research will help us to live for more than a century or until the species stays back. Even though Tesla has been horribly criticized during that time and horribly attacked during that time, without Tesla, I cannot live. So it is like what? It is something. So some of our findings may be helping us to live maybe more than 100 years. Okay, it's very difficult for us. Not only 100, maybe centuries we may live because of our findings, our explanations, our presentations. We know how many years Aristotle lived, how many years Plato lived, how many years, even though our writing has been challenged by Socrates, Socrates is still living through the writing of the Aristotle. We have to keep that in mind. So who knows, we are to live like that. So research is a cup of everybody's tea. And what we have to do in the research is the question. Okay, again, is it in an experimental way we have to go, or is it in a quasi-experimental way we have to go, or is it an ex post facto, descriptive? There are so many different types of designs. No, in which way we have to work on is a question. Some people will think and say that experimental designs are the best designs in the world, so I can only do like that. Some people will say that no, quantitative research is not my way of doing a research, my way is qualitative. We cannot decide all these things initially. We can only decide it based on the problem which we have to solve. Okay, how we can inquire, that is the way we have to inquire. How we can make it very easy for the next person to follow and believe and decide and replicate it. That way we have to do the research. So first the problem has to come. The first important element is the problem which we have to solve, or the aim which we have to reach. And after that, which design we have to follow, we will look into. So the keywords which I have to say here is what? Research is the cup of everybody's tea. Drink it delightfully. We cannot escape from learning. That's what in the previous video we have told. So we will make maximum active our learning, and it will be benefiting to our species.